The story begins by showing a couple kissing. But to understand the story of this couple, they take us back to the very beginning. Here we see a chair falling off a moving truck, and a girl smiles as she sees the boy who is moving in. Soon the girl's father comes out to see if she was okay, as does the boy's father. There, they meet and exchange names. And now we know that Ling Xiao is a police officer who is moving with his family to this place for work. Zi Qiu, the girl's father, welcomes him and offers help with his move. Afterwards, Zi Qiu asks his daughter why she was playing before finishing her meal, and she shows him the drawing she was making on the floor. The father is happy about how beautiful it is and tells her that he is going to reward her with ice cream. The scene changes, and we see Ling Xiao looking at a photo that included his little sister. The mother appears, and he hides the items quickly, but she quickly discovers that it is a photo of the little sister. The mother gets angry and tears it up, so he decides to throw these things away. There, they meet Jian Jian, the girl. She offers ice cream to her son, but the mother rejects it and leaves. Then we see Jian Jian bringing welcome nuts to Ling Xiao, but he rejects them, throws them, and closes the door. Jian Jian's father asks what happened, and she tells him that Ling Xiao didn't like the nuts, so they could try with sweets. Next, we see the boy's father, telling him that he should apologize to Jian Jian for having behaved that way with her. But the mother tells him that it's not necessary. However, the father responds that they don't know the problems they have, and that they only did things good people do. She cries, reproaching him that if he worried more about them, they wouldn't be this way. He tells her not to cry in front of the child, but she gets more furious and tells him not to pretend to be a good father now. And it seems that the problem between them was the death of Ling Xiao's sister. The scene changes, and we see Ling Xiao picking up the broken glass while his father watches him and his mother is in her room, sad. Then we see Jian Jian sitting next to Ling Xiao. She offers him ice cream, but the boy doesn't say anything and leaves. Jian Jian chases him and asks if he wants to go see a kitten that had babies, but he rejects her again. Afterwards, we see Ling Xiao reading a comic and noticing that Jian Jian was throwing watermelon seeds at him. She offers him some, but he gets up and leaves again. Zi Qiu arrives home and hears the boy's parents fighting. He approaches Ling Xiao and offers him to play and have dinner with him and Jian Jian. The boy says thank you, but that he already ate, as Zi Qiu had told him to knock on his door if he changed his mind. The scene changes, and we see Ling Xiao reading a comic, but other children come to bother him and ask questions about his father. So he tries to leave, but another child stops him. But soon, Jian Jian appears running and pushes the child who was bothering Ling Xiao. She tries to bite him while they struggle. After all that, Jian Jian goes to him and offers him fried pork, but he turns around and ignores her, no matter how much she tells him it was tasty. The scene changes, and we see Ling Xiao's parents fighting. The mother says to let her go see her daughter. While Ling Xiao listens to everything, Zi Qiu appears and asks the boy if he had eaten dinner. Jian Jian says they will have delicious fried pork for dinner. He doesn't respond, but Jian Jian goes up the stairs, grabs his hand, and enters her house. There, we see the two children eating happily. The girl's father tells him to eat slowly and asks him if it was tasty, and he replies yes. Then Jian Jian gives Ling Xiao the photo he had and that his mother had torn. She tells him that his sister is just like her mom and that they are both fairies in the sea now, and that at some point they will meet again. He asks her who told her that, and she says her dad because he knows everything. But the boy tells her that her dad is lying because his little sister is no longer here. He tells her that she has simply gone and that he won't be able to see her again. He also says that when someone dies, their belongings are burned and the person is forgotten. When he tells her that her dad does it too, she tells him to follow her, that she will show him her dad's secret. Once in the father's room, she shows him a photo of her mom, a photo album, and the clothes her dad keeps of her mom. She tells him that her dad will never forget her mom and that he thinks of her in secret. Ling Xiao asks her why and if she doesn't miss her. So she tells him that she misses her, but she thinks of her in secret so her dad doesn't get sad. Finally, she tells him that they can miss his little sister in secret without their parents finding out. Afterward, we see how little by little Ling Xiao goes to eat at Yin Yan's house and becomes very close to her and her father. While they were eating, they heard Ling Xiao's parents still fighting, but Yin Yan sneezes and food gets stuck on her nose, creating a very happy moment. But later, Ling Xiao's mother appears with the repaired photo and asks him when he got the photo back. He doesn't say anything and just takes the photo from her. The mother tells him to give it to her, but he didn't want to. The father tells her to stop, as it is the last photo of the whole family together, but she doesn't listen and lunges at him to take it from him. The father stops her and calls her a psycho for hitting him, to which she replies that then it should have been her who drowned with the nut. He mentions that it was an accident and that no one blamed her for it, that she just needs to move on with life and look forward. But she hits him, telling him that she doesn't want to live life. Then she turns to Ling Xiao, telling him that his sister died because of him, that they shouldn't have let his sister eat nuts. The father gets furious, tells her to shut up, and slaps her on the cheek. The next day, we see Yin Yan chasing Ling Xiao, but he ignores her. And upon arriving home, they run into the boy's mother. She had packed her bags and was leaving the house. Before leaving, Yin Yan asks the woman if she doesn't love her son. The woman remains silent, so Yin Yan tells her that if she doesn't want him, to give him to her, since she needs an older brother. The woman remains silent, but then tells her she can keep him, and leaves. Yin Yan innocently celebrates that she now has a brother, but Ling Xiao, for his part, was very sad. Sometime later, we see the two of them had grown up. They had skipped class and were discovered, so they quickly ran away. Later, they were caught in the rain, but they quickly take an umbrella from a classmate and run home. However, Ling Xiao's grandmother was there, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. He asks her why she came, and she says she wanted to come and help his mother, and then introduces him to his sister, but he rejects her, and his grandmother takes him outside. She tells him that she is his sister, but he says that he has one, to which his grandmother tells him that Yin Yan isn't even his sister. And then she tells him that Ling Xiao only takes care of him for his father's money. This angers Ling Xiao, and he tells her not to come back if she is going to say those things, and to stop bothering them. His grandmother gets angry and starts hitting him, but Yin Yan intervenes between the two to end the argument. Inside, Ling Xiao asks the woman if she is leaving. She says yes, and that she is going to leave the girl to play with Ling Xiao. He tells her that she can't leave her there, but she quickly leaves and goes away. When night falls, the girl asks Yin Yan why she calls her brother brother. To this, Yin Yan responds that she is his true sister. The girl says that it's a lie because her mother gave birth to her in Linxi, and that Yin Yan doesn't even share a last name. So Ling Xiao tells her that they don't either. She mentions that they should put Qing in their name so they have the same last name, but the children say no. Instead of Ling Xiao, Ling Xiao scolds them for fighting with a little girl, and right at that moment, Ling Xiao's father arrives to take the girl home. The next day, we see Yin Yan and Ling Xiao walking. He asks her why she's been acting strange, and soon discovers that she was jealous of his real sister. But Yin Yan denies it and runs away. Once home, he checks Yin Yan's homework and hits her, telling her she is wrong. She tells him it doesn't matter since no one will marry a fool, but he replies that he will, and she stares at him somewhat strangely. Later, we see Ling Xiao's father running. He enters to tell him that his grandmother was in the emergency room and to hurry so they can go to the hospital. Already at the hospital, his cousin comes out asking about his aunt, since she had left at 9, and it was already 1 in the afternoon and she hadn't returned. They told her that she wasn't answering calls and asked about the grandmother. The cousin mentioned that she was in a very delicate condition. At that moment, Ling Xiao receives a call informing him that his mother and her husband had had an accident and were in very bad condition. Suddenly, a woman comes out of the emergency room, saying that the grandmother was about to go to Jesus, and Ling Xiao was just in shock. Ling Xiao's father arrives home, and Li Haiqiao asks him how his ex-wife was. He tells him that her husband had died instantly, and that she was seriously injured, basically being treated. Then he says that he had visas made so that Xiao could go be with his mom. The scene changes, and we see Xiao reading the messages he had been sent for his 18th birthday from each of the people he cared about. But soon, a man comes out who tells him that his mom was in a grave condition and how he could smile. Then he tells him that he must stay and take care of his mom, and that he will take turns with Uncle Jin. But Ling Xiao mentions that he must return in 2 days, as he missed his sister, and must go see her, because he hasn't been home in a long time. The man tells him that his mom was very ill, and that he couldn't leave. He just stays quiet, and the man tells him that Junyan, his little sister, had died because of him when they were children, and that even so, he didn't shed a single tear. He mentions that his mother didn't want him when she divorced his father, and that her family was against what she did. But he tells him that, in the end, his mother was right, and that he is a cold-hearted person. When he is alone, his sister appears and turns off the light. He asks her why she does it, and then she comes back with a cake, singing him, "Happy birthday." She tells him to make a wish, but he mentions that he no longer does those things because no miracle will happen in his life, but she tells him that he has to wish for it very loudly so she can hear it. He agrees and makes a wish. Then the little girl apologizes for only getting 1 slice of cake at the bakery, but he tells her it was okay, that it is probably his destiny to receive a small slice. She tells him no, and that they should eat the cake. And sometime later, we see Yin Yan running to receive Ling Xiao, and she tells him that she had missed him very much. He says it was very hot, but she doesn't let go of him at all. When they were having lunch, Li Haiqiao tells him that his father hasn't returned in 2 days, and that he must be hunting. He asks about Zi Qiu, to which he replies that he had gone out to have fun, and Li Haiqiao says yes. Then Yin Yan asks him if he missed her very much, and he replies not to talk while eating, and she replies that when they go to study in Beijing, he won't be able to talk while eating. But this makes Ling Xiao sad, as he still hasn't given her the most important news. Later, she finds out that Ling Xiao is going to study in Singapore to take care of his mother, so she was against him leaving. On the other hand, Zi Qiu will also go study somewhere else, and the father tells her that he will return when he graduates, but she refuses to accept it. She says, "Then why didn't you dare to tell me before?" To which she gets up and reproaches the father, but he says, it wasn't that simple, and mentions that acting that way makes it difficult for his siblings. However, she says that it's also difficult for her, and it makes her angry that they didn't tell her anything. Zi Qiu tells her he is sorry, and Ling Xiao tells her that even if he had discussed it with her, she still wouldn't agree. She gets furious and goes to her room to cry. Ling Xiao enters Yin Yan's room and tries to pull the blanket off her head, but she tells him to get out. Then Zi Qiu appears, approaches, and tells her that he knows she was angry, but she also has to eat. When he tries to grab her, she pushes him away, and he leaves the room. Ling Xiao was also about to leave, but Yin Yan gets up and asks him if there is any real relationship between the two of them, and if he is just a neighbor. But he tells her no, and that when they grow up, they will live together forever. She mentions that he was lying, and that when they both leave, they will no longer be siblings, and covers herself up again. So Ling Xiao just leaves the room. A while later, we see Ling Xiao's father reproaching him for not having told him, and arguing about studying in Singapore. Qiao tells him that there is no need to throw a tantrum at Ling Xiao, so he tells him that it's not his fault for having spoiled him. Qiao tells him that it's too late to discuss it, and that Ling Xiao was going through a tough time. The scene changes. We see Ling Xiao and Zi Qiu packing their things, but they soon realize that there was a box of sneakers for each of them. When they open it, they discover that it is a gift from Yin Yan, who also left them a farewell note. Zi Qiu gets sad, hugs the box, and just cries. Ling Xiao, for his part, puts on the sneakers while reliving their happiest memories together. A little later, Ling Xiao says goodbye to Qiao to leave for Singapore. Qiao tells him that if he doesn't get used to the food there, he should just call him and he will cook food to send it to him. Ling Xiao looks at the apartment nostalgically to see if Zi Qiu or Yin Yan appear, but they don't, so he just leaves. Years later, we see Yin Yan just waking up and feeling a sharp pain in her molar. So, her friend accompanies her to the dentist to see what they say about her molar. However, Yin Yan wanted to make up an excuse to leave and not have to go in with the doctor, as she was scared. But her friend stops her and forces her to enter the room where the doctor was. The doctor tells her to come closer and lie down on the table so they can start the treatment. Jian obeys and lies down slowly. The doctor tells her to open her mouth, but she, as an excuse not to be examined, tells him that the pain wasn't that strong. But the doctor insists that she open her mouth. When he examines her, he tells her that she has 2 cavities while she complains because it hurts when he touches it. The doctor asks her to relax and mentions an Alice metaphor to help her. This works, and she calms down so he can finish the treatment. When he finishes, the doctor mentions that she shouldn't eat many sweets and that she should brush her teeth, which he would have to practice himself. Yin Yan says thank you and gets up to leave. At that moment, the doctor calls her by name, and when he removes his mask, she is surprised to see him, as the doctor was Ling Xiao. One night, Ling Xiao is watching Yin Yan while she sleeps and gives her a little kiss on the forehead. But then we see Yin Yan's friend approaching the door and seeing how he seems to give her a kiss on the mouth. Ling Xiao approaches to give her another little kiss, but stops at the last moment. And at that moment, Yin Yan wakes up. Seeing him, she decides to pretend to be asleep, as she was embarrassed by him doing that. So Ling Xiao simply leaves the room. After he leaves, Yin Yan opens her eyes, wondering if that was truly real. The next day, the two meet again as they were about to get on the elevator. Ling Xiao asks her if she is going to the studio, to which she nervously replies yes and returns the question, asking him if he is going to work, to which he replies yes. However, Yin Yan finds it strange since it's Sunday, so he invents the excuse that he forgot his cell phone to leave. But he grabs her and takes her with him inside the elevator. Inside the elevator, Ling Xiao mentions the night before, but she interrupts him, saying that she was drunk and had coincidentally forgotten everything. Ling Xiao doesn't believe her and apologizes for not having controlled himself, but he tells her to think about what he wanted to tell her with that. Yin Yan tells him to wake up, as they are siblings, but he tells her that's not enough to stop his love and continues by saying that he wants a family relationship with her, so they should get married. Yin Yan looks at him surprised and tells him that what he was saying was totally crazy. Ling Xiao insists that she at least think about it, but she tells him that she is not going to marry him and escapes the elevator. When night falls, she goes to Ling Xiao's apartment. When she is there, Yin Yan enters stealthily. But upon turning on the light, she finds Ling Xiao, who asks her why she entered that way. So she invents the excuse that she forgot half a watermelon in his refrigerator. With that, Yin Yan tells him that she was thinking about what happened all day, and that, according to Ling Xiao, having lived together for a long time, practically growing up with her, he thinks he was confusing affection and family love. But Ling Xiao tells her that she was very wrong, and she insists that he think about it, that perhaps after living these last years with his mother, he felt guilty for having left her, and that's why he now feels like he likes her. However, Ling Xiao interrupts her and tells her that in the 2nd grade, he told her they would get married. Yin Yan is surprised, thinking that had only been a joke. But Ling Xiao continues by saying that since that day and that promise, he decided to be hers for the rest of his life. Yes, the boy is quite intense. Later, Ling Xiao goes up to the terrace and finds Yin Yan there. Ling Xiao asks her what she is doing there and if she was hiding from him. But Yin Yan tells him that's not the case. Then Ling Xiao asks her if she truly prefers Zi Qiu over him. However, Yin Yan responds by asking him why he was saying that. He says that in everything they did, like visiting the arcade or the internet cafe, she always preferred Zi Qiu and left him behind. But Yin Yan reminds him that he didn't let her play video games and that he was always strict with her. Ling Xiao remains silent, and Yin Yan affirms that she is being honest, as she knows them like the back of her hand. Ling Xiao, however, comments that these two things are not the same and asks, what is he really to her? When they enter the apartment, she complains that the mosquitoes bite her and not Ling Xiao, and he mentions that it's because she has a high fever. Then he tells her to think about his proposal and to treat him like a man from now on, to which she replies that he can't force her to do that. Ling Xiao clarifies that he is not forcing her, but that he is the only one who is there when she needs someone. Then he tells her that they have to tell everyone that they were in a relationship, since they only see them as siblings, and he also doesn't want people to pursue her, so he wants to make their relationship clear to everyone. Yin Yan tells him to calm down, as that won't be difficult to resolve. Ling Xiao asks how they are going to tell Zi Qiu, and Yin Yan tells him that they shouldn't tell him, as he will get angry because they were leaving him out. So Ling Xiao says it was okay. After all that, Yin Yan wishes him good night, and Ling Xiao gets up to leave, not without first telling her that he doesn't have good nights, because, as she knows, he loses sleep very often. So, to prevent this from getting worse, he tells her not to hide from him as she had been doing, and then he leaves. Yin Yan remains upset for having threatened her with his health, and the following night, Yin Yan appears in Ling Xiao's apartment and tells him that Ten Chen, her friend, had spoken badly about her, and she was hurt, as they have been friends for a long time for her to have said that. Ling Xiao replies that she shouldn't take Ten Chen's words seriously, as she wasn't really saying it. Yin Yan continues to be angry and upset. However, he tells her that there is something he can do to distract her. He quickly approaches her and kisses her. Yin Yan doesn't say anything and simply lies back on the sofa. Ling Xiao asks her if this works to make her a little calmer, to which she embarrassedly hits him. Ling Xiao tells her that he is going to take a shower and that he will buy her ice cream afterward. But she nervously gets up and runs towards her house. A little later, they are at a wishing tree, so Ling Xiao mentions that he is going to make a wish, which surprises Yin Yan, as he previously thought doing that was childish. However, Ling Xiao responds that people change and become superstitious. Then he hangs up his wish, and she notices that Ling Xiao had wished for the whole family to be safe and sound. So she asks him why something so simple, and he simply replies that he wouldn't write that love lasts forever. At that moment, he lifts her up and holds her in his arms to give her a very romantic kiss. And that's how this sweet story ends.